The baby never cried. Silence filled the royal birthing chamber like a curse. The queen's heartbeat weakened with every passing breath, while the newborn prince lay motionless in the royal physician's trembling hands. "No pulse," someone whispered. Outside the chamber, Alpha King Cassian Ashthorn heard the words that no ruler was ever prepared to hear. "Your Majesty, we are losing them both. Only 5 minutes remained. If the queen and the newborn heir died before the moon reached its highest point, the ancient succession right would fail, plunging Ashthorn into civil war before sunrise." Rival kingdoms were already gathering along the borders, waiting for the royal bloodline to disappear forever. The palace doors suddenly opened. A young village midwife entered carrying nothing more than a worn leather satchel. Several royal physicians stared in disbelief. "This woman? She is only a village healer." Cassian's golden eyes settled upon her calm expression. "You have one chance. If you fail..." Evelyn Rowan met the king's gaze without fear. "I am not here to prove myself. I am here to save a mother and her child. If you love emotional werewolf romance filled with hidden destinies, forgotten fated mates, ancient moon magic, and unforgettable alpha kings, stay on until the very end. Tonight, the greatest miracle in Ashthorn will not begin with a king, but with the quiet midwife everyone believed was ordinary." Evelyn walked toward the silent newborn. As her fingertips hovered above the infant's tiny chest, the old crescent pendant beneath her dress grew warm for the first time in decades. Soft silver light flickered between her hands. Far above the palace, the full moon brightened, and destiny quietly awakened. Before the palace ever knew her name, the villages already did. Not because Evelyn sought recognition, because mothers whispered about the quiet woman who always arrived before dawn whenever a difficult birth began. Some believed she possessed extraordinary skill. Others believed she carried remarkable luck. Only one elderly woman knew the truth. Luck had nothing to do with it. The small stone cottage where Evelyn lived stood beyond the last wheat field of Briar Hollow. Its roof sagged beneath every winter snowfall. The chimney leaned slightly after years of fierce mountain storms. Wild herbs dried from wooden beams above the doorway. Every shelf inside the little home overflowed with simple remedies: lavender, chamomile, moonleaf, dried elderflowers. Nothing appeared unusual. That illusion had protected Evelyn for nearly 30 years. Each morning began the same way. Before sunrise, she carried 2 heavy buckets from the village well. She swept the tiny floor, prepared herbal medicine for elderly neighbors, visited expectant mothers unable to afford physicians, accepted payment only when families insisted, fresh eggs, homemade bread, sometimes nothing at all. She never refused anyone. Children waved whenever she walked through town. "Evelyn! Miss Rowan! Will the babies come today?" She always smiled. Only when they are ready. The villagers loved her because she listened before speaking. She comforted frightened fathers, held exhausted mothers through endless hours of labor, cried quietly whenever a family experienced loss. No child entered the world without first feeling the warmth of her gentle hands. Yet every miracle demanded restraint, because Evelyn carried a gift she feared more than death itself. Years earlier, when she had been only 6, she remembered another village, another home. Fire consumed the rooftops, smoke covered the sky, men wearing black wolf crests searched every house. "Find the healer child! Leave no witnesses!" Her tiny hands trembled as Elder Miriam carried her through an underground tunnel hidden beneath an abandoned chapel. "Do not cry. I am scared. I know." "Why are they chasing us?" Miriam stopped only long enough to place a weathered crescent pendant around the little girl's neck. "Because your kindness frightens powerful people." I do not understand. You will, when you are older. But promise me something. What? Never let anyone see the silver light. The frightened child nodded. I promise. That promise became the foundation of her entire life. Years passed. The world forgot the moon healers. Evelyn made certain it stayed that way. Whenever she sensed ancient healing magic awakening beneath her fingertips, she stopped. She relied upon herbs, knowledge, patience, anything except the truth hidden inside her soul. Only once had she broken that promise. A harsh winter had swept through Briar Hollow 5 years earlier. A little girl barely 3 years old developed a fever no medicine could lower. The child stopped breathing shortly before midnight. Her mother collapsed beside the bed. No, please, not my daughter. Evelyn looked toward the window. Snow covered the entire valley. No physician could arrive before morning. Morning would be too late. Her hands began shaking. The pendant around her neck warmed gently. She remembered Elder Miriam's warning. Never let anyone see, but she also remembered the child's tiny smile. Sometimes compassion demanded impossible choices. She closed the bedroom door, knelt beside the little girl, placed one hand over the child's heart, another against her forehead. Moon, she whispered, if kindness still has a place in this world. Please. Silver light quietly flowed between her fingertips, not bright, not overwhelming, gentle, like moonlight reflecting across calm water. The child's heartbeat returned, weak, then stronger. Tiny lungs filled with air. Small fingers moved. Blue lips regained color. The little girl opened sleepy eyes. Miss Evelyn? The healer smiled through silent tears. Welcome back. Before anyone else entered the room, the silver light disappeared. The mother believed prayer had saved her daughter. Evelyn never corrected her. Hope mattered more than recognition. Only Elder Miriam noticed the exhaustion waiting afterward. When Evelyn returned home before sunrise, she collapsed outside the cottage. The old woman quietly covered her with a blanket. You used the gift. I had no choice. There is always a price. I know. Miriam gently touched the crescent pendant. They will find you one day. Evelyn looked toward the brightening sky. Then I pray it happens after every child I can still save. The old woman smiled sadly. Your mother said those exact words. Evelyn rarely asked about the woman who had given her life. Some grief remained too sacred. Instead, she devoted herself completely to others. The seasons continued. Spring flowers, summer harvests, autumn rains, winter snow. Children she had delivered learned to walk, then run, then start families of their own. Life moved quietly, exactly as she wanted. Yet strange moments sometimes disturbed that peaceful rhythm. Animals behaved differently around her. Wounded wolves wandered from distant forests only to rest peacefully outside her cottage before disappearing again. Owls perched silently upon her roof during every full moon. Newborn infants stopped crying the instant she held them. The villagers called these moments blessings. Elder Miriam called them warnings. The gift grows stronger. I never use it. You no longer need to. The moon recognizes its own. One evening, she handed Evelyn an ancient scroll wrapped in faded blue cloth. I have protected this long enough. What is it? A promise. Evelyn carefully unrolled the brittle parchment. Most of the ink had faded with age. Only one sentence remained perfectly clear. When the moon's heir enters the world between life and death, the last moon healer shall answer the call. She frowned. Moon's heir? Miriam slowly nodded. The child destined to unite the royal bloodline. I have never met royalty. You will. When? The old woman looked toward the distant mountains where Ashthorn Castle stood beyond the horizon. Soon. Before Evelyn could ask another question, hoofbeats thundered outside. Royal riders. The village froze. Nobody from the palace had visited Briar Hollow in years. A young captain leapt from his horse. His royal cloak was soaked by relentless rain. "Which of you is Evelyn Rowan?" She stepped forward calmly. "I am." He bowed deeply. "By order of Alpha King Cassian Ashthorne. You are commanded to come at once. The Queen is dying. The royal physicians have exhausted every remedy. The unborn heir may not survive the night." Silence spread across the gathering villagers. Evelyn looked toward Elder Miriam. Neither woman spoke. They no longer needed words. The prophecy, the pendant, the strange dreams. Every path had quietly led to this single moment. Miriam stepped closer. She gently adjusted the old crescent pendant resting beneath Evelyn's collar. "If the moon calls, you must answer. If they discover who I truly am." The old woman's eyes filled with both pride and sorrow. Then history begins again. Evelyn climbed into the waiting carriage. Rain poured harder as the horses galloped toward Ashthorne Palace behind them. The ancient scroll resting upon Miriam's table slowly shimmered beneath the rising full moon. A second line, hidden for generations, revealed itself. "When the last moon healer saves the heir, every kingdom shall remember her name." Far beyond the mountains, inside the royal palace, Alpha King Cassian stood outside the birthing chamber, believing he was waiting for a healer. He had no idea. He was about to meet the woman destiny had hidden from him since childhood. The palace had forgotten how to hope. Every corridor echoed with hurried footsteps. Royal physicians whispered impossible odds. Servants carried fresh towels soaked in steaming water. Outside the Queen's chamber, Alpha King Cassian Ashthorne had not moved for nearly an hour. His golden eyes never left the closed doors. Every few moments, another healer emerged. Each one carried the same expression. Failure. Beta Rowan Hale approached quietly. "The border scouts have returned." Cassian did not turn. "I do not care about borders. The neighboring kingdoms have noticed unusual movement," I said. "My queen is dying. My son is dying. Nothing else matters." Silence followed. Even Rowan lowered his head. The king who had never feared battle now feared a room he could not enter. Inside, Evelyn knelt beside Queen Isabel. The queen's breathing had become dangerously shallow. The newborn prince lay motionless beside her. No cry, no movement, no heartbeat anyone could find. Royal physicians stood helplessly around the bed. One elderly physician shook his head. "It is over." Evelyn looked at the child. "No, it is not. You cannot save him. I have not tried yet." The room became silent. Her fingers trembled, not from uncertainty, from memory. 30 years hiding, 30 years pretending ordinary hands were enough. The pendant beneath her dress slowly warmed against her skin, almost as though someone had whispered. Now, she gently lifted the tiny prince into her arms. So small, so brave, the queen opened weary eyes. "Please, my son." "I will do everything I can." Evelyn closed her eyes. The ancient words came naturally, not learned. Remembered. "Moon above. See the child who has not yet seen you. Return what fear has stolen. Let life remember its own heartbeat." The room darkened. Every candle flame leaned toward Evelyn. Soft silver light appeared beneath her fingertips. Not blinding, gentle, like moonlight touching still water. The physicians gasped. "No, it cannot be." The child's tiny chest rose, then fell. rose again. A faint heartbeat echoed through the room. Once, twice, then stronger, the newborn suddenly cried. Loud, clear, alive, every person inside the chamber froze. The impossible had happened. Tears streamed down Queen Isabel's face. My son. She reached weakly toward the infant. Evelyn carefully placed the baby beside her. Before anyone could speak. The silver light spread farther. Queen Isabel's pale skin regained color. Her breathing steadied. The dangerous bleeding slowed. Even the deepest exhaustion faded from her face. The moon's gift refused to save only one life. It saved both. Outside, Cassian heard the cry, the first cry. His entire body froze. He knew instantly. His son lived. The chamber doors opened. A physician stumbled into the corridor. His hands were shaking. Your Majesty, the prince, he lives. Cassian crossed the distance in seconds. What about the queen? Alive. How? The old physician looked back toward the chamber. I no longer know what is possible. Cassian entered. His eyes found Isabel first, alive, smiling, holding their son. Relief struck him harder than any battlefield wound. Then, his gaze shifted. Evelyn stood quietly beside the bed, washing blood from her hands. No triumph, no expectation of gratitude, only calm. For one heartbeat, the world stopped. A scent drifted through the room. Wild lavender, rain, moonflowers blooming beneath autumn skies. Cassian forgot how to breathe. Impossible. His wolf awakened violently. Mine electric warmth raced through every nerve. His heartbeat synchronized with another standing only a few feet away. A deep, primal purr echoed inside his soul, not heard with ears, felt, recognized, remembered. Evelyn looked up. The instant their eyes met, the same current surged through her body. The basin slipped from her hands. Water splashed across the stone floor. She staggered backward. No. The bond she had buried beneath years of silence erupted without mercy. She felt his strength, his grief. 7 years of lonely rule, every battle, every sleepless night. Cassian felt something too, her compassion, her quiet sacrifices, countless lives saved without asking for recognition. Loneliness hidden behind kindness. Neither spoke, neither needed words. The mate bond had already spoken. Queen Isabel watched them carefully. Understanding filled her gentle smile. She had grown up hearing stories of true moon bonds. She never expected to witness one. Rowan Hale entered the chamber just in time to see the king's expression. He had served Cassian for nearly 20 years. He had never seen that face before, not during war, not during victory, not even on the day the prince was born. Only now, looking at a village midwife. Rowan quietly noticed something else. As Evelyn bent to retrieve the fallen basin, the crescent pendant slipped from beneath her collar. Old silver, handcrafted, ancient. Recognition struck instantly. His grandmother had once shown him sketches copied from forgotten royal archives. The emblem belonged to only one bloodline, the Moon Healers. His pulse quickened. No, it could not be. Across the room, Cassian slowly approached Evelyn. You saved my family. I only did what was necessary. That was not ordinary healing. She looked away. I do not know what you mean. You are hiding something. So are you. The unexpected answer caught him off guard. She met his gaze steadily. You wear a crown. I wear silence. Both are heavy. For the first time in many months, Cassian smiled. A genuine one. Before he could speak again, a palace guard rushed inside. Your Majesty. What is it? We captured a messenger attempting to leave the castle. He carried sealed correspondence. Addressed to Nightfang Dominion. Rowan accepted the scroll. He broke the wax seal. His face hardened. It is from inside the palace. Cassian's expression became cold once more. "Read it." Rowan obeyed. "The moon healer has returned. The royal heir lives. Prepare to claim the woman before the next full moon." Silence crashed over the chamber. Every eye turned toward Evelyn. She understood immediately. The miracle she had tried to keep hidden for 3 decades had already escaped beyond the palace walls. Far away, inside the obsidian throne room of Nightfang Dominion, King Darius unfolded an identical message. A slow smile crossed his face. "So, the last moon healer truly exists." He rose from his throne. "Prepare the army. I do not want the kingdom. I want the woman." The hunt had begun. The first war horn sounded before sunrise, then another, then a third. Their echoes rolled across the mountains surrounding Ashthorn like the growl of an ancient beast finally awakened. Inside the royal palace, no one spoke. Every commander understood what those horns meant. An army had arrived. Captain Rowan Hale stepped onto the eastern battlements and looked across the valley. His face hardened. "Your Majesty, they are here." Cassian reached the stone wall beside him. Thousands of soldiers stretched across the plains below. Black banners whipped violently beneath a gray sky. At their center stood one enormous standard, a silver wolf surrounded by broken chains. Nightfang Dominion, King Darius had come himself. Beside him marched warriors from 3 rival kingdoms. They had not formed an alliance for land, or treasure, or power. They had united for one woman. Far below, Darius slowly removed his helmet. His silver eyes lifted toward the palace. "I know you can hear me, Cassian." His voice carried unnaturally across the valley through enchanted moon crystals. "I did not come for your throne. I came for the healer. If you surrender Evelyn Rowan, no innocent blood needs to fall today." Silence. Every soldier atop Ashthorn's walls waited for the king's answer. Instead, Cassian calmly descended from the battlements. He walked through the palace corridors, past frightened servants, past anxious guards, past the queen's chamber. He stopped outside the small guest room where Evelyn had spent the night. She was packing, not clothing, her medical satchel, bandages, medicinal herbs, simple remedies. She looked up. "You heard." "I did. They came because of me. They came because powerful men fear kindness." She lowered her eyes. "If I leave with them, this kingdom survives." Cassian took one slow step forward. "No. They do not want a prisoner. They want a weapon. I will not become one." "You will not." She looked at him. "How can you promise that?" "Because I am still breathing." Their eyes met. The mate bond pulsed gently between them. No longer violent, steady, certain, for the first time since childhood, Evelyn allowed herself to believe someone might actually protect her. A palace bell suddenly rang. Once, twice, 3 times, enemy envoys. Rowan entered immediately. "They demand an answer." Cassian nodded. "They shall have one." The massive palace gates slowly opened. King Darius rode forward alone. His black warhorse stopped halfway between both armies. Cassian walked toward him without guards, without armor. Only the ancient royal cloak rested upon his shoulders. The 2 Alpha Kings stood facing one another beneath gathering storm clouds. Darius smiled. "So, the famous Ashthorn King." "I expected someone older." Cassian remained silent. Darius continued. "I admire your victories. I admire your discipline. I even admire your loyalty. But today, you possess something that belongs to history." "Evelyn belongs to no one," Darius laughed. "Every moon healer belongs to the strongest kingdom. They preserve royal blood. They create heirs. They erase death. Power like that cannot remain free. Cassian's golden eyes narrowed. You speak of a woman. I speak of property. The valley became silent. Every soldier heard those words, Cassian answered quietly. That sentence alone has already lost you this war, Darius shrugged. Then show me. He raised one hand. Hundreds of enchanted ballistae emerged from behind the Nightfang ranks. Every massive spear pointed toward Ashthorn Palace, not the walls, the royal nursery. The message was unmistakable. Surrender the healer, or watch the heir die. Inside the palace, Queen Isabel stood beside Prince Lucien's cradle. She watched from the tower window. A maid whispered fearfully, Your Majesty, we should flee. Isabel gently shook her head. No. My husband has spent his entire life protecting this kingdom. Today, it is our turn to trust him. She looked toward Evelyn. You must never surrender yourself. They will keep attacking. They attacked long before you were born. The queen smiled softly. Kindness did not begin this war, but it will decide how it ends. Evelyn felt tears gathering. The woman whose life she had saved was now protecting hers. Before she could answer, the crescent pendant beneath her collar became hot. Painfully hot, she gasped. Silver light escaped through the fabric of her dress, not by choice. The gift was awakening. Far below, every wolf lifted its head. They felt it. Ancient moon healing. Alive, King Darius smiled triumphantly. There, I knew it. The last moon healer. Across every battlefield. The old legends became reality. Even Ashthorn's oldest generals slowly bowed their heads. Many had doubted. None doubted now. Lady Seraphine Vale quietly stepped from the palace entrance. She no longer bothered hiding. She walked calmly toward Darius. Captain Rowan stared. You, she smiled. I grew tired of serving weak rulers. Cassian looked at her. You delivered our secrets. I delivered the future. You betrayed your queen. I served the stronger king. Queen Isabel appeared upon the palace balcony holding Prince Lucien. Her voice carried clearly. No. You served only your own ambition. Seraphine laughed. The child survives only because of the healer. The kingdom survives only because of her. Everything you have belongs to Evelyn. Evelyn slowly stepped onto the palace stairs. Every eye turned toward her. The armies, the villagers sheltering inside, the palace staff. She looked impossibly small, standing between two kingdoms. Simple gray dress, loose brown hair, a worn leather satchel. Nothing about her resembled the legends. Darius extended his hand. Come willingly. You will never know hunger. You will heal kings. You will reshape empires, Evelyn answered quietly. I became a midwife, because every child deserves a chance to live. I did not become a healer, to help tyrants choose who deserves life. Darius's smile vanished. So be it. He raised his sword. Advance! Thousands of wolves charged. The earth shook. The sky darkened. Captain Rowan shouted, Defend the gates! Ashthorn soldiers rushed forward. Steel collided. Magic ignited. The battlefield exploded into chaos. One enchanted spear broke through the front line. It flew directly toward Evelyn. Cassian moved. Not fast. Impossible. One heartbeat, he stood 20 yards away. The next, he stood before her. The spear shattered against his forearm. Splinters scattered across the stone. Blood ran freely down his arm. He never looked at the wound, only at Evelyn. Are you hurt? She stared at him in disbelief. You shielded me. I always will, King Darius roared. Kill them both! His elite wolves transformed simultaneously. Massive black beasts surged toward the palace steps. Cassian inhaled once, deeply. Then he released his alpha dominance. The world changed. The clouds above the battlefield split apart. Lightning flashed without thunder. The ground rippled beneath every warrior's feet. Invisible pressure crashed across the valley. One by one, enemy wolves collapsed. Some dropped their weapons. Others could not even remain standing. Windows shattered, stone cracked, ancient statues trembled. Even battle-hardened commanders struggled to breathe beneath the overwhelming force. Captain Rowan whispered in awe, "The first Alpha's blood." Darius gritted his teeth. So, the stories were true. Yet something even greater was about to happen. Evelyn saw wounded soldiers lying between both armies, Ashthorn, Nightfang. It made no difference. They were all suffering. Her heart refused to ignore them. "No more," she whispered. The pendant finally broke. Silver fragments drifted through the air like falling stars. Moonlight erupted around her, not violent, beautiful, gentle. Every wound within sight began closing. Bleeding stopped. Broken bones straightened. Pain faded, not only for Ashthorn's soldiers, but for the enemy as well. Both armies stared in complete disbelief. King Darius lowered his sword. Captain Rowan forgot to breathe. Queen Isabel smiled through tears. The prophecy had awakened completely. The last moon healer had not chosen one kingdom, she had chosen life itself. And in that single impossible moment, every king on the battlefield realized the greatest power in history had never been created to win wars. It had been created to end them. No one moved. Thousands of warriors remained frozen beneath the silver light spreading across the battlefield. Ashthorn soldiers slowly looked at the wounds covering their bodies. Deep cuts had vanished. Broken bones no longer ached. Even the oldest scars seemed lighter beneath the moon's blessing. Across the valley, Nightfang warriors stared at one another with the same disbelief. Their wounds had healed as well. Evelyn had not chosen sides, she had chosen mercy. King Darius slowly lowered his sword. His expression shifted from triumph to obsession. "Do you see?" He laughed softly. "She is greater than the legends. She can erase the cost of every war." He looked directly at Evelyn. "With you beside me, no kingdom would ever defeat us." Evelyn met his gaze without fear. "You still do not understand." Darius frowned. "I understand power." "No, you understand possession. I understand survival. You understand fear." Silence settled between them. She gently looked across the battlefield. A true healer never decides who deserves compassion. Life is not a reward. It is a gift. Those simple words echoed farther than any battle cry. Some Nightfang soldiers quietly lowered their weapons. Others stepped backward. For the first time, they questioned the man they had followed for years, Darius noticed. His face twisted with rage. "Enough. If they will not fight, I will." He transformed. Bones cracked like thunder. Dark fur erupted across his body. Within seconds, an enormous wolf towered over every warrior on the battlefield. His crimson eyes burned with hatred. His roar shook the valley. He charged directly toward Evelyn. Cassian moved. The Alpha King transformed without hesitation. Golden light surrounded him. His massive silver-black wolf emerged beneath the blood moon. Larger, stronger, ancient. The collision between both Alpha Kings shook the palace walls. Stone fractured beneath their paws. The shockwave swept banners from every tower. Darius attacked with relentless fury. Claws, fangs, pure destruction. Cassian answered with discipline. Every movement protected Evelyn. Every strike forced the battle farther from her. The enemy Alpha slashed across Cassian's shoulder. Blood stained his silver fur. He did not retreat. Another attack. Another wound. Still he stood. Captain Rowan shouted from the battlements, "Your Majesty!" Cassian ignored the blood running down his side. His eyes never left his opponent. Darius laughed. "You bleed." "I do." "You are growing weaker." "No. I am protecting something worth bleeding for." The words carried through the entire battlefield. Evelyn closed her eyes. She had spent her entire life believing her gift brought only danger. Now she understood. It had also led her to someone willing to stand between her and the world. Darius gathered every remaining ounce of strength. With a furious roar, he launched himself into the air. His jaws opened toward Evelyn. Cassian disappeared. For one impossible heartbeat, no one saw him. Then he appeared directly between them. His massive jaws caught Darius by the throat. The valley shook. With one tremendous motion, Cassian threw the enemy Alpha across the battlefield. Darius crashed through an ancient stone monument before sliding to a stop. He tried to rise. He could not. His transformation faded. The defeated king lay motionless beneath the broken monument. Cassian slowly returned to human form. Blood flowed freely from deep wounds across his chest and arms. He walked toward Darius, not with hatred, with certainty. This war ends today. Captain Rowan approached with royal guards. Cassian spoke clearly enough for every kingdom to hear. "King Darius Nightfang, you stand guilty of invading sovereign lands, hunting innocent lives, and seeking to enslave the last moon healer. You will face judgment before the Council of Alpha Kings." Royal guards placed enchanted silver restraints around Darius. For the first time in decades, the conqueror offered no resistance. His ambition had collapsed before compassion behind him. Lady Seraphine Vale quietly attempted to slip into the retreating army. Queen Isabel stepped down from the palace with Prince Lucien safely in her arms. "You forgot something." Seraphine froze. Captain Rowan blocked her path. "The truth." The former royal advisor lowered her head. "I only wanted security," Queen Isabel answered gently. "Security built upon betrayal always destroys the one who seeks it." Seraphine surrendered without another word. As the prisoners were escorted away, silence returned. Only then did Cassian's strength begin to fail. The wounds he had ignored demanded their price. His breathing became uneven. Blood dripped onto the palace steps. He looked toward Evelyn. She rushed forward. "Cassian, you need healing." He smiled faintly. "You have already given enough. You saved everyone. You are included in everyone." He laughed quietly. "That sounds like something you would say." His knees suddenly gave way. The mighty Alpha King slowly knelt before her. Not because he had been defeated, because his body could no longer carry the burden alone. The entire courtyard watched in silence. Cassian lowered his head. "I laughed at you. I doubted you. I judged you before I knew your heart." His voice became softer. "I was wrong." Evelyn gently cupped his face. "You were afraid." "I was. I have been afraid too." He looked into her eyes. "Will you forgive me?" She smiled through tears. There was never anything to forgive. The moon bond pulsed warmly between them, no longer awakening, whole. Queen Isabel approached quietly. Carrying the sleeping prince, she stopped beside them. Every noble expected sorrow. Instead, the queen smiled. "Cassian," he looked up. "You have always been a good king. Today, you finally became the man the moon chose." She turned toward Evelyn. "You saved my life. You saved my son's life. And today, you saved my husband from becoming a man ruled only by duty." Isabel gently took Evelyn's hand. I release you from every guilt you have carried. The moon never made a mistake. It simply waited. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes. Queen Isabel placed Evelyn's hand into Cassian's. Some people are brought into our lives to protect a crown. She looked lovingly at the sleeping prince. Others are brought to protect a soul. She smiled warmly. You belong beside each other. Evelyn looked at Cassian. For years she had hidden from destiny, from love, from herself, no longer. She intertwined her fingers with his. I accept the moon's bond. Silver light surrounded them, Chanel. Peaceful. Above the battlefield, the blood moon slowly faded into a brilliant full moon. The war had ended, not because one kingdom proved stronger than another, but because compassion had accomplished what violence never could. The bells of Ashthorn rang before sunrise, not to announce war, not to mourn the fallen, but to welcome a new beginning. Golden morning light poured across the castle as wolves from every allied kingdom gathered inside the grand moon courtyard. No banners of conquest flew above them, only white standards bearing the ancient crescent of the moon healers beside the royal crest of Ashthorn. For the first time in centuries, the two symbols stood together. Prince Lucien slept peacefully in Queen Isabel's arms. His breathing was steady, his tiny heartbeat echoed with quiet strength. Every physician who had once declared him beyond saving now watched in humble silence. The impossible child had become living proof that hope could survive where fear had failed. Evelyn walked through the courtyard wearing simple silver robes instead of a healer's worn village dress. She had requested no jewels, no royal crown, only the old crescent pendant, carefully restored after it had shattered beneath the moon's power. It rested once more over her heart, a reminder of where her journey had begun. Alpha King Cassian stood waiting beneath the ancient moon tree. His wounds had healed, but faint silver scars remained upon his chest. He chose not to hide them. They remind me, he said softly as Evelyn approached, that some victories are worth every sacrifice. She smiled. And some hearts only learn compassion after they have been broken. High Priestess Celeste stepped forward carrying an ancient crystal staff wrapped with white ribbons. For hundreds of years, she declared, the Order of the Moon Healers existed only in forgotten stories. She looked toward Evelyn. Today, those stories breathe again. The gathered wolves bowed their heads, not before a queen, not before a king, before a woman who had saved lives without ever asking for power. The High Priestess gently touched the crystal staff to Evelyn's shoulder. A soft silver glow spread across the courtyard. Flowers bloomed around the roots of the moon tree. Even injured birds resting upon the castle walls took flight together. The kingdom needed no greater sign. Compassion itself had been chosen. Cassian stepped beside Evelyn and took her hand, not as a ruler claiming destiny, as a man grateful enough to walk beside it. Far beyond the castle walls, children laughed in villages once divided by fear. Trade routes reopened. Border patrols lowered their weapons. Former enemies carried food instead of swords across neighboring lands. Peace had begun with one quiet decision. A healer had refused to choose who deserved saving. Before our story comes to an end, there is one question only you can answer. If you had been Alpha King Cassian, would you have hidden Evelyn forever to keep her safe, or revealed her to the world, believing that hope is stronger when it is shared? Tell us your answer in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable werewolf and shifter romance stories filled with love, sacrifice, destiny, and second chances. Until our next story, May you always have the courage to protect others with kindness before power, and may the moon guide every heart that chooses compassion over fear.